This is Outnumbered. I'm Andrea Tantaros, and here with us today, Harris Faulkner, Kirsten Powers, host of the brand new show Kennedy on our sister network, Fox Business's Kennedy. And today, you didn't bring any warm weather from Florida, but we're still glad to have you.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy. I like the cool weather. It's nice to get away from Miami's heat. Well, when you open the freezer and you get that blast of cold air. I mean, I don't want to live in my freezer, but it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, but that's only a couple seconds. This has gone on a little too long.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, well, let's get right to the news because we've got a lot of stories for you, a lot of legal stories on the American sniper trial and other things we're going to get right to. Okay, well, it is day 3 of the White House summit on countering violent extremism, as they call it. And just an hour ago, President Obama spoke about his strategy to put a stop to the terrorists. All right, Judge, I want to go to you first on this. I was listening to that same speech, and the first thing I thought was what Krauthammer echoed terrorists are. And you look at the radical leaders, a lot of these leaders come from very wealthy, highly educated backgrounds. I mean, some of them have a number of degrees. One study I found said that 80% of his militant Islamics were university grads or grad students from some of the most elite.
Become Islamic extremists. But you're by sending the message that we need to give them jobs.
Harris, that is the case. Is that really our job? To be lifting up the Middle East and helping right, and I should say, those grievances that the president talked about? I mean, really, is that going to fix the problem?
If you're teaching by the 1.5 billion Muslims in the world, if you say, well, if we don't educate and give you jobs.
On top of, well, now I lost my train of thought, so I'll come back to it.
Let me help you out, because if you look at the 10 poorest countries on earth, look at with economic redistribution, international economic redistribution.
The Middle East into one big Kirsten welfare state, basically, is what he's saying would fix the problem. That's how I read it. I agree with Harris. It was like an academic paper. But I want to ask you, why is the president focusing on
to do with the tribalism and their local distribution?
Well, let's stay on the point that you're just upset because you love a good casino night.
And
you
party.
hate when you're not invited to a casino night, especially when they're using your money. I think that's what really makes everybody
They're gambling
upset.
with it, they're paying for the event with it, and they're losing it all at the same time.
And they're losing it. And then when they're not at casino night and they're at their jobs, they're just spending it even more. And then when we catch them spending it on stupid stuff like Star Wars videos and conga lines or whatever else they're doing, or bathtub dude.
Don't knock conga lines.
GSA bathtub
Listen,
dude.
I love a good conga line too, Judge. Just, can I be in the conga line? Can I be paying for it?
You are paying for it.
I'm spending $21 million on.
They could not have conducive and efficient flow of conversation.
That is actually true, though.
Poor babies.
If you've ever stood around a craps table,
Department of Energy's
the reality is
have good combo.
this is never, ever going to end until people...
Terrible, right?
Yeah, well, civil servants are. Definitely. So, I think
they're
that,
unfireable.
Well, it's hard to fire so much. I think it's even more insulting.
But that's such a good point. If they were prosecuted, like the judge said, they would think twice about these kinds of things. But they're not. They get to retire with luxurious pensions. I mean, a slap on the wrist. Nothing ever happens.
No, Lois Lerner's on a yacht in St. Bart's right now. I mean, I don't know that for Judge Alex.
Yes.
There really shouldn't be public schools, should they? They might agree with this sort of negative glossing over, whereas others might want a more traditional.
It's not. I mean,
okay, but when you have an agenda, can you really have an objective approach?
Well, I mean, it's a little hard for him to be making this argument. Figure out like what are the key historical.
I
things
love that
happened?
idea. Let's abolish the Department of Education
Right here.
and
Exactly.
we put together the curriculum.
Exactly. Get the government out of education. She made my point. Okay, good. Thank you.
Well, you know how I feel about the Department of Education and government bureaucracy and Washington, D.C. dictating what kids should be taught. I think it's ridiculous. And that's why I agree with you on the charter school push. I wish there was a push where parents could have more choice. And it seems to me that the universities have always taught this sort of let's apologize for all of the wrongdoing and the boar-headedness of boorish behavior of the United States of America. It seems that that's trickling down to our kids' level. And that is a problem. I mean, I do think there's some concern that kids aren't getting the proper education, but not even the proper education. To Kirsten's point, are they even learning history anymore?
No, I don't think
I mean,
they
the
are.
basics. I mean, we are behind so many countries in math and in science. I mean, they're not even getting the basic education because they're getting a bunch of this meaningless liberal crap.
Yes,
every
subjective
day.
drivel.
Yes.
But how do you eliminate public schools? How do you pay for the... I I just don't trust that the money they take from me and say is going to education is actually going to education.
Or that they would give it to you.
I think that when they say they'll give it back to you, they go, okay, we'll give it back to you, but we got to cut back on
exactly.
our 300 conferences that we go to with casino night.
You know, I'm a motivational speaker when I'm not here, so I'm all about the positive.
You are a motivational speaker right here on this couch, Harris, and don't you forget it. You motivate us every single day.
Faulknerisms, give us one.
Hey, let's go out together. Anyway, different show. Amazing.
My favorite speaker.
So I can kind of see this person's point and wanting to put more good in there because honestly, the bad stuff has more stickiness in our brains. We just remember the bad more. You know, so to mix in good and maybe balance that out, I think. Well, a Dutch group, it's a nonprofit group, is sponsoring the Mars One mission and, you know, metal out there, but now they're going to be putting humans out there.
This is what happens when you don't allow women into school dances without a date.
About how like crazy this was, and
What'd you tell him?
He felt that his family.
So beautiful about that. Though.
Really? Would you go?
No, I wouldn't go because I have kids.
Well, every 2 years.
Right, so it'll be like a college, and they want you to procreate.
Nice.
So do you get to pick your partner, or I mean, I have so many questions.
Well, how would you like to be one of the first 4? I mean, talk about decreasing your dating opportunities.
It's like, I like to talk too much and drink martinis. It would never work.
Well, you could probably do that up there.
I don't think that would work very well.
Mars
I mean, maybe if I can come back, but I have a list of people I'd love to put on that spaceship to never come back.
No, I love my family.
Overtime, because that's up next. We're staying right here on Outnumbered Overtime on the web. FoxNews.com/Outnumbered. Click on the Overtime tab, and the live chat's already cooking, so you can chime in and tune in at the same time. We're back here for the TV version of us tomorrow at noon Eastern. It is Friday Eve, people. Yes, happening now, starts now.